Jacqueline, how are you?
Good, good.
Um,
Hope I didn't interrupt you.
yeah, I was just looking at my device, and I got
Yeah.
caught looking at my device.
Classic, classic. They know
Classic.
how to get you.
They do, they do. It's just lack of privacy. That's what a lot of this is. I'm looking at my device. I'm trying to see what that text was that I just received, and then suddenly, hello, Paul.
As if this isn't like a planned meeting with a countdown.
Well, yeah, yeah. I didn't see the countdown. I was checking the phone.
Checking the device. Yes, I got
Yeah.
it. Well, I will take us through last week's headlines. We had a really cool story Sarah did about a pretty wonky bit of news. The Kalshi and Poly Market to I don't know, how would you describe them, Paul? I always have a hard time with this. Like
Well,
a
they're
platform.
taking essentially taking bets on the outcomes of clinical trials in all over medicine, but also really including oncology, and on you can also bet. I mean, these are different markets, but you can also bet on the FDA regulatory actions.
Yes, yes, yes. So
So
Polymarket and Kalshi exist as like betting platforms, I guess, but you bet on like real world things like the invasion of Venezuela, the a lot of sports stuff, whether Trump will say hippopotamus in July, like almost anything you can bet on. And the news is that Kalshi has now opened up betting on clinical trials and FDA regulation, like Paul said. So that's the story we're going to be talking about in more depth today. But before we do that, I will go through the rest of the issue. So our story two was a story about Trump's announced plan, although it is via Truth Social, not X. It was on Truth Social that he announced this policy, and I did confirm with the White House that that is the official policy, but there is no formal
policy.
announcements about it. Yeah, there's no, all we have is the Truth Social post, so it's necessarily a little bit limited in terms of the information that we have. But he has announced a plan to incorporate a 200% tariff on generic prescription drugs by 2029. There's like a 2 years grace period, and then a year of 100, and then a 100% tariff, and then after that 200% tariff. And the whole kind of idea is to try to increase onshoring, but I talked to some experts, and well, some experts offered press calls, thankfully, understanding that this is a really complicated topic. And yeah, it basically read the story, but it seems like it might not really accomplish the goals that Trump is striving for. And as a heads up, we're going to have Marta Wyszynska, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, again, the perils of written journalism coming onto a podcast, but she will pronounce her name correctly next week. But we're going to have her on the podcast to talk about sort of how this policy actually affects oncology specifically, because obviously oncology has sort of its own unique little niche within the generics market more broadly. Then we had a Trials and Tribulation, a guest editorial, and it was really interesting. It was a follow-up to the chronotherapy retraction story that I did a few weeks ago. These are chronotherapy experts, people who actually do specifically chronoimmunotherapy, and they had a response to that story that was kind of like, hey, there really is a lot more promise here than the sources that I spoke to for the last story were really kind of putting forward. And so they wrote a really wonderful sort of survey of what the literature looks like, and sort of why chronotherapy deserves real thought and consideration, and almost like validation as like a legitimate research avenue. And then Sarah and Katie worked on, but I think Sarah mostly wrote a cancer history project story. It was a podcast with Stephen Chanick and Otis Brawley, who were two mentees of Joseph F. Fromeni Jr. I'm sorry, you wrote the Fromeni obit.
No,
No, they
no,
did.
Steve Chanick wrote
Steve
it.
Chanick. Okay, got
That's why it was so good.
yeah. So Chanick wrote an obit for Dr. Fromeni when he passed away, and so this is now a deeper conversation with Otis Brawley about sort of his mentorship, what Fromeni was like as a mentor, and the work that he did. It's a really lovely story. There's a AI created, not by us, but an AI created photo of Mount Rushmore with from Maney and Florence Nightingale and these epidemiology giants and John Snow, who John Snow apparently was an epidemiologist, but the AI image is jokingly includes Jon Snow from Game of Thrones.
And that was done by Ned Sharpless.
Yes.
Well, it was done by AI for Ned Sharpless, in the
Yes.
service of Ned Sharpless.
Oh God, it's a
He
whole
put
box
that
of words.
he put that funny thing up to send to Joe Fermini's grieving staff and mentees. So
Yeah.
he thought it was pretty funny, and it
Yeah.
is pretty funny.
It's funny and except for the Jon Snow bit, like true, like I think it reflects the enormity of Fermani's work and in the field of epidemiology especially. But
Well,
yeah,
Jon Snow, in case anybody doesn't know, which I'm sure everybody does, was a British physician who, about 100 and some years ago, discovered the source of cholera in London, and I'd say isolated it to one particular well. So but the other Jon Snow, I think, is a good swordsman or some such.
I know too much about that Jon Snow. Actually, Sarah asked me to
You do?
yeah, I like Game of Thrones. Sarah asked me because she doesn't watch it. She was like, "Does anybody watch this? Can you like write up a summary of like who he is?" And I don't think that this will resonate with you, Paul, but for any listeners who watch, I really struggled to come up with a quick, easy description of who he was that didn't include spoilers in the show. So that was sort of my very small challenge in addition to that story, or my editorial contribution to that story. I think I just said he was a character.
No,
Um,
I couldn't watch that show because uh, the only time I tried, because people were telling me I must see it, uh, there were a bunch of dogs killed, and excuse me, you start killing dogs, even fictionally, you lose me forever. Sorry.
that's
So
fair. That's fair. There are
a lot
uh,
of dead dogs.
a
No,
lot
no.
of dead dogs, and I mean, like if that's your line, I think Game of Thrones surely crosses a lot of people's
Ugh,
lines. There's a lot of
ugh,
horrible things in that show, but
ugh.
somehow I know I'm not alone at least, but I definitely respect if people don't want to do it. But anyway, before we become just a Game of
I
Thrones
also
review
find
pod,
other things to do in my life. Still,
that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
yes, gorgeous. Yes,
Yes.
uplifting. Does anybody get the sense that this is August and we're kind of moving towards a little break, which we sorely need? It's like
I don't know if our reader or our listeners will necessarily be familiar with that, but just as context and a heads up, we have
well,
a
it's a disclosure.
yes, a disclosure that we are coming up. We are coming up on a 3-week publication break in August, which, as Paul said, is sorely needed. But just to finish up, I just wanted to mention that there were some pretty interesting cancer policies last week. Specifically, FDA's OCE published 3 final guidances. Focused on or all aimed toward increasing clinical trial enrollment. So that's just interesting. Just want to keep sort of a pulse on that. And there are other interesting cancer policies. So definitely go check them out. Life moves fast. It's fierce, persistent, determined. At City of Hope Cancer Center, they are too. Their groundbreaking research and discoveries have impacted millions of lives globally. They're moving science forward with the hope, passion, and speed every diagnosis deserves for a cancer-free future. City of Hope, pursuing cancer cures at the speed of life. Learn more at www.cityofhope.org. Anyway, do you want to talk about the prediction market story, Paul?
Yeah, it's just really fun. What Sarah did was pretty awesome. She contacted 5 people, right?
Yes, or 6?
And essentially got them all to, and they are. Do you want to? You have the list in front of you, yeah?
Yeah, yep. It's the American Society of Clinical Oncology offered a spokesperson person, the organization offered a response. And then we had Paul Thurman, Associate Professor of Health Policy and Management at the Columbia University Mailman School of Public Health. We have, and again, I apologize for the spelling, but or the pronunciation, Kyun Tu Lee, Group Chair of NRG Oncology, Mark Ratain, Director of the Center for Personalized Therapeutics, and the Leon O. Jacobson, Professor of Medicine, Chief Hospital Pharmacologist at University of Chicago Medicine. Sorry, he has a long title. And Primo Lucky Lara Jr., Group Co-Chair of SWOG. Whole long list of names, but I think the key is that
we could have kept going. We could have kept going. But it was all basically the same. The concept, the message was, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's like, Mark Ratain's line was this is just another opportunity for cancer people to get themselves into deep trouble.
I think he said something a little bit more fun than that. Wait, can I read his thing?
Oh, yeah, he had, but they all had incredible amount of wisdom in those responses, and they were completely consistent. Even Mark's, and Mark was saying, "Well,
yeah,
not really. It's not a now."
Yeah. Well, yes. So I think, just to read that because it's just so good. Go ahead. Ratain said, "Prediction markets are another opportunity to violate the law, but if used correctly, there should not be a problem," which is what you're referring to. He's sort of saying he's not particularly worried about this. Overall, I don't think this is problematic for society, but certainly creates another opportunity for my colleagues to lose money and go to jail.
Yeah, but he's not worried.
He's not worried.
He couldn't care less if anybody falls for it and goes to jail. I joined him on this lack of worry about it, because it's just another good thing about being a journalist. But yeah, what really disturbed me, just immediately after I heard this over dinner a few days ago, that this is happening. And first of all, I couldn't believe it. And second, they said, equipoise. My God, the loss of equipoise. If you're putting patients on trial and you're betting on that trial, unbeknownst to them, then you're a very bad investigator. That's one possibility. And this is hypothetical. I'm not talking about anybody specific, because I hope everybody's smart enough not to do this nonsense.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, what if you're on Data and Safety Monitoring Board, DSMB? That means you really deserve to go to prison for that one.
Yeah. Do you want to explain that a little bit, Paul, for people who might not be familiar?
Well, because they see the results, they make the decisions.
They're the ones that see data that's blinded, even while it's blinded, so that they can check for really problematic safety signals that need to shut the trial down, or if there's sort of the opposite, if it's working perfectly well and it's unethical and you lose equipoise that way. That's sort of the role of these people, just FYI.
Yeah, well, no, this is different. Equipoise would be in a different setting, but yes. Equipoise would be the investigator. DSMB is just a criminal.
Well, no, so sorry. Let me just, what I meant was a DSMB totally separate from this story. Their job is to check that you haven't lost equipoise within the trial as it's blinded to everybody else. They have secret access, or not secret access, but they have special access to see the blinded data as the trial is going on to ensure that.
If you're on the DSMB and doing this, then you really belong on the chain gang, which also functions like a committee.
What does?
The chain gang.
The chain gang? I don't know if I know what a chain gang is properly. I don't know if I want to.
I only know it from watching old movies, but you would think that some decisions have to be made on the chain gang. Do we go to the right? Do we go to the left?
I am sure this is a funny joke. I am.
It is a funny joke. It may not be that funny, but I tried. That's all I know. I can rest assured I tried.
But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
But seriously, it's just a really fascinating thing when you look at something and you stare at it and it's there in front of you and it's actually happening, but you say, huh? Yeah. How can it possibly be happening?
Yeah.
Are we all so stupid and criminal as to allow something like that?
Yeah.
And why should it? Why would you even want to be? I mean, it's different from of course, pharma companies bet on drugs, but that's a very different kind of betting.
Yeah, are you talking?
It's
Well,
a
you're talking about like actually
kind of
like investing and
protest.
trying like making a bet in terms of developing a drug. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and investors bet on drugs. It's a
hmm
pretty well regulated thing,
yeah,
but also people who have inside knowledge, such as members of the DSMBs, uh, would uh, would go to also end up on the chain gang. So it could be an interesting chain gang, you know.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared
It
about
would
this.
be you have I bet on the on the trial result when I knew and the, you know and the other one could
Yes,
be yeah an
the
insider
insider
trader of
trading.
a
Yes,
different sort. So there's many ways to get yourself into trouble, as Dr.
yes.
Etain said.
Well, that's what I thought was interesting is like just opening this up, and I think that's kind of just because I align a little bit with Retain on this, and just out of opinion, but it's like this does have a lot in common, I think, with or yeah, with the risks of insider trading and investing and stuff like that. But
It's exactly
um,
that.
yeah, but what I thought was interesting, the sort of side of it that I didn't consider was just like if there's a lot of publicity about a trial, and like the way it's getting bet on specifically, even if there's no insider trading, or whatever the equivalent would be called in this case, that could really affect how potential clinical trial participants see or how they feel about the trial, even if it doesn't have necessarily like scientific or clinical implications. It's just maybe how this stuff is. Like I'm thinking of what was that, the GameStop or whatever, like this type of like betting and online prediction markets. Do you know what I'm talking about with
Oh
GameStop?
yeah, it could be bad. I mean, when
Yeah,
the doctor basically is going to be asked by a patient,
yeah.
are you putting me on this trial because you have money riding on it?
Yep.
I mean, if you can be betting on, yeah, it could be. It's like the ways, the number of twisted ways in
Yeah.
which this could work out is completely bizarre. It can also just kind of fail, just the
Fail?
whole
What do you mean? Like
idea.
it just wouldn't really
Yes,
work. It just doesn't really
fizzle
take
out.
off. Well,
Not every idiotic bet is taken,
yeah.
and not every stupid game is played.
Yes, that is
And
true.
this was a stupid game. So, but it was
That's like
it was
yeah.
so stupid that we all decided that there is no way to deal with it otherwise than to put it on the cover of the cancer letter because
Yes.
holy mackerel, you could so easily blink and forget all about it until you hear it from someone at a cocktail party and you say, "What?"
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
of it's been going on for a while, apparently. It's just that this year, this week, this
Kalshi.
month, last month, yeah, got into this, and another prediction market had been doing it for since last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't really understand like it just doesn't feel necessary. Like, but I think that that's kind of how I feel about gambling in general. And I know that that's sort of a
Yeah, well, we
different box of
can't do
words.
it, by the way.
Oh, I know. I know
We
that.
can't do that, and I know that. And we can't invest in pharma, so we can't do any of those betting.
Uh-huh.
So any of those forms of betting. So
Yes. Yes, we have
bet on
clear.
horses
Yes.
like normal people.
So yeah, what I was kind of mentioning, I mean, that's true about like you go in, you're a patient, you go in, you ask, are you betting on this? Like, are you putting this, what you said? And I feel like that's sort of what came to my head when I thought about this. But what I hadn't thought about was this point, and this is from Primo Lucky Lara Jr., the group chair of SWOG.
Just call him
Um,
Lucky Laura. Just
well,
it's better.
it's,
That's
um,
what he likes.
gotcha. Um, he said, let's say a patient sees that prediction markets are betting on the failure of a trial they are considering. Even if the trial is scientifically and ethically sound, they would then be likely to decline participation in the trial. Investigators and the public might be led to believe that the answer is already known. If betting markets swing one way, they would therefore behave differently than they would otherwise. And I know that that's like sort of a minor thing, but I just like obviously there's the insider trading side of things, and that's horrible. And like Retain said, that's not old news, but like that risk is already there through the insider trading sort of track, if you want to call it that.
Right. Right. To the chain gang.
Yes. Okay.
The committee.
The
It
committee of
functions
the
as a
church.
committee. That's my line for the day.
I'm putting it in the notebook.
Wearing
Um,
stripe.
but I feel like this is kind of an because I think of insider trading as something that sort of the general public, or at least I don't really like. I'm not gonna go do that, like I don't, but I could. I mean, I won't because it's
You
not our
get
job. But like
fired.
I would get fired. But it's like like the prediction market stuff is just so much more accessible and sort of accessible to the general public. So I think that's sort of the thing that I was interested in as I was reading this story is like sort of these other ways that you don't really think of that having clinical trials and FDA regulation on sort of a general prediction market platform might impact clinical trial enrollment in this case, but just in general, like clinical care. It's just it's weird, and it's just I think my point I think is that there are innumerable, like you said, and unexpected, and I think there will continue to be unexpected sort of implications and outcomes that are not so great ideally or not ideally, not so great probably, that come from this being available for just I like saw on like Instagram or something, but it was just somebody being like, this is so wonderful that people can like gamble on these things that are like life-saving research endeavors from the comfort of their own home. You know what I mean? Like it's just like the fact that it's like anybody can do this. It just sucks. So
Oh yeah, it's small
democratized. Yes.
democratizing. Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting because I mean things that are twisted, they're called twisted because they're twisted, and this is twisted.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
So and it's nice to be able to just say it,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
say it. We shouted it.
Yeah. 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 Literally, Paul Terman responded. The first thing that he said was absolutely a horrible idea! Exclamation point. Oh, and that's an
Yeah,
important thing.
no, this is worth reading. I mean, this is
Oh yeah.
definitely for those who still drink. This is definitely an excellent accompaniment to a Scotch. It will go well with Scotch.
Yes. The last
Even
thing
though
I
I
want to.
prefer vodka, this would go with Scotch.
This is appropriate with Scotch. Yeah, you'll switch it
This
up
is
for
a
this one.
Scotch
Yeah,
kind
got
of
it.
companion.
Good to know.
This story, yes. We should probably do kind of a, like books on tape kind of thing.
Oh, what do you mean?
Record some of this stuff. Well, it's called a podcast. So here we are.
They were doing it.
Right.
The last thing I just want to mention about Kalshi before we move on is the idea that, and this is all in the story, so definitely go look more if you're interested, but the idea that this prediction market sort of world is a little bit like less regulated, harder to regulate because it's just like we said, it's like, I mean, democratize is such a positive word for what I'm describing, but it is accurate. That, it's like anybody can sort of do it. There's not a whole lot of regulation to, like if a DSMB member's cousin were to do it, it's like, it's very gray and yeah. So that's all in the story.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like if you tell something, people do get caught for this all the time.
Yes.
At least on the SEC end of things.
Yeah.
You do get caught. You should count on getting caught, and
Yes. Yes.
it will be unpleasant when you are.
Yes, to say the least. Do you want to talk about any other stories, Paul? We could talk about the tariffs briefly. I just don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like next week's podcast will dive more into it. But do we want to just touch on it briefly?
Yeah, it's interesting to see this idea come back, and I guess one of the things about economics is that knowing a little bit of it is more dangerous than knowing none. And I'm in the position of knowing a little bit.
Yeah.
So uh,
I think same. I think that's why I'm like, let's just wait for the expert.
yeah, I think so. But it's really interesting how you can have the counter. The effect is not going to be what you think it will be.
Yeah.
Because it does cost a fair amount of money, billions, to start a new plant.
Yeah.
And it's really the problem here is that a lot of the generic drugs, and which is what we're talking about,
Yeah.
are basically too cheap.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, what do you do when it's impossible because of the tariffs or for whatever reason, and nobody's, to import the drugs, and nobody steps in? And if nobody steps in, then the drug just becomes unavailable.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, as if we
So,
need more, as if there's not already concerns about shortages of generic drugs in oncology. Like, that's already, like you said, like it's a story that's coming back rather than like just appearing, Um, in terms of the generic shortages, the fact that Trump is imposing a tariff on generics is new. But the fact that it's,
well, he talked about it, and now he's
yeah,
bringing back this idea because who knows? Maybe if I don't know. It's a story that definitely is. We will be here to cover it because it's a great time to be a journalist.
indeed it is. And yes, I think that we will get a lot more detail and in depth about that story next week, which I'm very excited about. And
Right.
yes, it's a great time to be a journalist. Thank you for guiding us off, Paul. um, and listeners, I will talk to you next week with Marta Wyszynska.
That would be fantastic. That would be actually great to have an actual economist as opposed to
Yes.
two
To-
armchair economists
yes.
who are going to get into more trouble than.
Yes.
She would
Agree.
actually have an interesting point to make about gambling on clinical trials.
I'll make sure to ask her. I'll write it down.
I don't think she cared, but it
I'll
would be
throw it in
fun
as a fun question at the end.
It's a fun question at the end.
Yeah.
Gambling is a great economics problem, and anyway, again, my BA is
Coming in, yes, that's what
yeah,
I was gonna start going there. That you have more expertise than I do with your BA in
expertise is the
economics.
wrong word for it.
Oh well, more something more than me, education we could say. But all that to say,
I'm not sure I would even say that, but it's something. Anyway,
it's something.
this is becoming a Jewish goodbye. We're all saying goodbye and nobody leaves.
Yep.
So
Yes.
let's actually say goodbye
Yes.
and thank
Goodbye.
you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, listeners.
Bye.